Hey everyone, so this is going to be my favourite drugstore pharmacy foundations. So I use an awful lot of like cheaper foundations. I do have some, obviously a lot of higher end brand ones that I use mostly in my kit, but to be honest I nearly always reach for a lot of my less expensive ones, but they're just as good if not better than a lot of the more expensive ones that I have. Okay, so I'm going to start off and show you some of my, say the one that I'm wearing today. So what I have on for this tutorial, and this is one that you can see I use it an awful lot, it's my Bushwa Healthy Mix foundation, and it's the original Healthy Mix foundation because they have a serum, which I have here as well, but I'll go on to that in a second. So this is one that I've repurchased again and again. This is my third bottle roughly, and then I've just got a new one, so it's one that I go back to. I love it. It's actually very similar in ingredients to Studio Fix Fluid by MAC, but I find this one just isn't quite as heavy. It's a really good coverage for being not such a like overly heavy foundation. The colour of this is pretty much bang on for me. It's definitely yellow based, so it would be roughly NC15. Now I will refer to MAC shades just to make life easier on everyone, but anyone who knows their MAC will know that NC15 can vary between the foundations, because say like with MAC Sculpt or Mineralize, the liquid, their NC15 is literally kind of more like an NC10, because like if you look at the NC15 of the Studio Fix Fluid, it's really dark. Like it's not that, it's nowhere near as pale as the Sculpt. So when I say NC15, you'll know it's like give or take a shade or so. But this is, I would be in between those. So I find the NC15 of the Studio Fix too dark. On me, it's just a little bit too yellow, too much colour in it. And especially as it wears throughout the day, it does oxidise and go really dark on me. But the NC15 of the Studio Sculpt, I find is that too white ghostly on me. So I am somewhere in the middle. But this just fits me perfectly. Like this is a really good match for me coming on off the end of, say, the summer. Maybe come now January, February, I don't know, but it's definitely, I love this here. So that's the number 51 of the Bushwa Healthy Mix. So it's a semi-matte finish and it's oil free, so it's perfect for anyone with like combination oily skin. It does contain like water, being it's a water based one, but it has a lot of silicone in it, so it's kind of like the Studio Fix Fluid in that it's water based but very silicone heavy, it being the second ingredient, so it will help to stop the oil coming through messing with your makeup, and it'll also help if you are slightly more drier, as long as you've moisturised well beforehand, it'll help keep that moisture in on your skin, because we all know that silicone kind of forms a film over the face and stops stuff coming out and you know whatever. So love this. Then they recently brought out this newer Bushwa Healthy Mix serum, and it's 16-hour radiance. This one is 16 hours of wear as well, but this one says it's 16 hours radiance. I haven't worn this enough to kind of tell the massive difference between them. It's definitely lighter. It feels a little bit more luxurious, as pompous as that might sound. That's just like kind of my first impression of it. Now the only difference, this comes in a bottle, a glass bottle, whereas the other one comes in a plastic bottle, so I think that's kind of supposed to add to the whole luxury of it. Both of them come with pumps, which is great. This one I found for some reason, now this is a semi-matte finish as well, but it just feels that little bit lighter on the skin when I use this one, and it being a serum, I suppose it just might be that little bit more, I don't know, you'd imagine that it would just be more vitamin rich and all that kind of stuff, full of good stuff for the skin. I'm going to have to wear this a little bit longer to just make sure that I get a good feel of it before I do a proper review, but I just think it's a beautiful foundation so far, and I've used it 2 or 3 times. The coverage is lower, it is a lesser coverage than the normal Healthy Mix foundation, so this is something I might use more for a really natural day look, whereas I'd use this happily for a nighttime look, so I absolutely adore those. So they were my Bushwa foundations. They also do another one which was like the Sleep Effect foundation. I used to have it as well. Again, I'd use the lighter colour in that and I loved it. So I'm a big fan of Bushwa foundations in general. I've been using them on and off for years. I've heard mixed reviews on them, but I personally love them, and I am combination skin. Now, another drugstore foundation that I recently discovered, but I've like recently as in a couple of months ago, and I've been using this quite a lot since I got it, and it was also in one of my recent favourites. It's the Show Good Face 2-in-1 Skin Energizing Foundation and Primer by Soap & Glory. And I use it in the colour the fairest of them all. There you go. So it's they have like really kind of cool kitschy names like that. This is roughly about €15 and it's like NC15ish. It's yellow based, which I'm delighted with. I found that not so many foundations used to be yellow based up until like drugstore foundations, up until more recently. The paler ones, you used to kind of have to suffer like pinky shade if you were very pale. So I'm delighted with the more pale you know, yellow based foundations that are coming out. So this one, it has a primer in with it. You just need to shake the bottle well to activate it. But I find that, probably because of that, it does work quite well against any oil or sweating or anything like that. I'd say it'd be more like medium. You can build up to a good medium coverage, and it's lovely for everyday wear. And I have worn this like where I've worn it like all day from morning right to evening, and it wears pretty well. I don't have to use a huge amount of powder or anything over it, so I really love that. That's the Show Good Face 2-in-1 foundation. Now another one that I bought really recently is by Un, and I, like an Egypt in a recent video, said that I thought this was a British brand, but it's not. It's actually a French brand, and the brand is a subsidiary of the Bushwa brand. So it's by Un, and it's their Intuitive Touch BB cream. So of course everyone is coming out with the BB foundations nowadays. BB cream foundation, so it's a cream to powder texture, adjustable coverage. You can apply with fingers, brush, blah blah blah. So I get the colour, I think it's 101. There it is on the back anyhow, and it comes with this. Now originally I just thought that was the cover, but you take off the little kind of, you can peel this off. I put it back on again because I'm going to leave it on until I do a proper review, but you've got a mirror, which I think is so handy. It'd be so good for touch-ups, and I'm really delighted with that. And it wasn't that expensive. I only paid about €12. No, that's a lie actually. I paid nearly €20 for it, but I still think it's really good. And then you lift this up and you have your foundation in there, and it comes with just this little brush thing. It's just like a synthetic brush that you can use to apply. I'd more apply this for touch-ups because I bought this Un brush recently, and it's their flat top like kabuki blusher brush, and this applies it really well. I've also applied it using this MAC brush, which is their 130. So it applies really well with these kind of short buffer brushes. I really like that it's not too heavy of a coverage, but it evens everything out, and it's nice and pale. It looks darker here than it is. You wouldn't immediately think it's yellow based from that. Like I wouldn't actually know. I wouldn't say it's overly yellow based. I'd say it's quite neutral. There's like, it's not pink looking on the skin, but it's not overly yellow either. It's just quite neutral looking on. And I wore this, let's say last week. I wore it a good 2 or 3 days in a row, and I was really happy with how it wore. So I just think it's a really nifty container, and I'm dying to kind of get a bit more use out of this so I can do a proper review on it in the future. But what I like about this brand is that they're all natural, they're all into their organic stuff and stuff like that. So I was quite excited about that. Now another brand I quite like for foundations is Revlon. Everyone would be familiar with that. I have the Photo Ready foundation, which I love because it comes with the pump. And this one, it's an oil-free one again, so it's good for like normal combination oily skin. You can get it, I think, for... No, this only comes in the one type, but it has an SPF of 20 in it, and I'm 002 vanilla, which is roughly NC15 perhaps. Yeah, no, it's NC15, it's quite pale. You can see it there. It would be probably too pale for anyone who's NC20. But it works really, really well on me. I like the finish that it gives. I find it's funny that it's called Photo Ready, because if you use a flash photography with it, it has these minute little particles in it which do flash back a little bit, and the SPF being 20 in it as well also adds to the flashback. But it videos really well, and in real life it's really well. When you're as pale as I am, you don't mind flashback because I'm pale everywhere. I can't really get any paler than I am on my chest and stuff like that, so it doesn't bother me, but you'd want to be aware of that if you're quite dark. But I love this. Then also the Revlon Colorstays. These were foundations. I'm just going to say two because I've got two bottles, but this was a foundation that took me a while to get into because I kind of misunderstood it at the start. You just need to be really careful with how much you apply. I originally got the Ivory, which is the 110, because I got this during the winter a few years ago, but it's too pink on me. It makes me look very washed out. So I'd say this would be anyone who is very pale and pink based, who find that the NW15s are way too dark on you, because I don't think the NW15 in MAC is very pale anyhow. This would be more like an NW10. So this is good for anyone who wants really good coverage and is quite pale like that. And then I got the 150 Buff, which originally I thought was too dark on me, but it actually is a nice colour. So I would say this would do anyone who is not too pale of an NC15. So that's it there. And someone anywhere up to like an NC20, as long as you're not like the higher end of the NC20. So this is fine on me once I blend it in, believe it or not. I actually didn't think it would be, but it's really nice, especially I was wearing it this year during the summer, so maybe because I might have had a tiny bit more colour on me, but this gives super oil control. Now the thing about this is that they do a foundation for dry skin as well, so I get the one for the combination oily. You can get the dry normal, so it's really good that it does try to cover both different skin types, and it claims to be oil-free, shine control, transfer resistant, and to be honest, it does do all those things. Just use it with the light hand. Don't go plonking it on, because it can look quite mask-like if you do over-apply it, so be wary of that. LOreal is another brand that I've gone back to a few times. They have, I can't remember the name of the other foundation I've used, but anyhow, I have the True Match foundation. I had gotten the C1 Ivory Rose originally, and the colour was okay, but it was a bit off, and then I realised that they had an ivory which is slightly more yellow based. They're both in the 1, so C1 and N1. This one would be more in C15. This would be anyone who finds NC15 is maybe too yellow on them, but I really like these foundations. It would be medium coverage. I wouldn't say it is the like most oil controlling foundation or anything like that in the world, but it just gives a nice comfortable coverage to the skin. Your skin looks good. It does cover up like any tonal issues you have on your face or whatever. You might need to use a little bit concealer on spots, but I just really like it, and it's not that expensive. So of course you can get these in any boots or anything like that. Rimmel The Lasting Finish is one that I got because I'd heard people going on about it, and it had a pump which I was quite excited about. Now for some reason, must have been an off day, when I kind of put this onto the back of my hand in the drugstore, I thought it looked okay. It's not, it's good shade too dark for me. I got it in the 100 Ivory. Normally Ivory's okay on me. This one is quite dark, you can see there. It kind of goes on more like the NC15 of the Studio Fix, where there's just that too much colour in it. So this one I definitely have to darken my neck, or like wear a collar that's really high, or bronze my neck or something. Saying that now, it's a lovely foundation. It's transfer proof again, hydrating, but it still does fight. This one's oil free as well. Yeah, and it does fight oil production in the face. So if you are more maybe on the NC20 side and you get the 100 in Ivory, this is a beautiful foundation, but it's one that I use in my kit, and like I said, if I am willing to just warm up my neck and stuff a bit, it's one that I will go for. Finally, the only really other foundations I want to show you are by the brand Vichy. So in Ireland, Vichy are a pharmacy, what you would call in the States drugstore, but it's a pharmacy or chemist brand here, but I call it kind of like a higher end pharmacy or drugstore brand, because it's quite luxurious, if you know what I mean. Like, it's very, very high quality in my opinion. The Vichy Irritant Pure is one that I absolutely fell in love with. I got the colour 12 Très Clair Opal, and this is a very, very pale one, so it's perfect for me for the winter. I might need to like give a little bit more life to the face during the summer if I use it, but it's also perfect for lightening up any other foundations that I have that need a teeny bit of lightening. This one, I'd say it's light to medium coverage, but it's just flawless when it's on. I absolutely adore this. I did a blog post on this, and I think a video on it before. I'll link to the blog post below anyhow, because the video will be on that, but I love this. Vichy foundations in Ireland will cost you around 18 to 20 euro, which I think is fantastic if you consider like the Revlon Colorstay I think is about 16, so they're really fair. The Normaderm Taunt foundation, I got this one in Opal as well. The only thing is this one was a little bit on the pink side. Well, it's not too pink, but it was a bit dark. So again, it's maybe I just need to warm up my neck or add a little bit more colour to my neck. like it probably matches my face, because I know I've harped on about this before a million times, but my face is darker than my neck. So in order for me not to have to use loads of stuff on my neck and chest, I tend to use slightly lighter foundations. This one would probably match my face perfectly, but not my neck. So it's slightly a bit darker, more higher end of NC15, maybe between NC and W15 say. But that's another beautiful foundation, and this is one for anyone who has troubled skin. So anyone who might suffer from acne or breakouts or anything like this, this is actually good for that kind of skin. And again, it's roughly around the same price. Then you have the Dermablend Color Corrective Foundation by Vichy. I think it's Dermablend may sit on their own in the States, but when you're in the Europe or in the EU, it's under the Vichy brand. This one is a full coverage foundation. It is flawless. You have to be careful in how you use it, but you can't go wrong with this foundation. It's just a fantastic foundation. Don't use it too heavily handed, or you know, you could put it on too much. You need so little, and it just gives amazing coverage. And again, roughly around the same price. I absolutely adore this foundation. I think I got the powder that goes along with it, and it's really sweat resistant and like oil resistant and stuff like that. So this is one that I would say is really, really handy, especially say maybe if you work under hot lights or on camera or whatever. And then you can also get the Dermablend foundation sticks, which I'm another massive fan of. I have like a light yellow shade, which is more like NC15, and then kind of a warmer kind of NW 20-25-ish shade that I use mostly in my kit, and they're fantastic for if you do have really heavy breakouts, or maybe if you want to cover like birthmark or like even tattoos or anything like that. This is the way to go. So they're pretty much my favourite drugstore foundation. I use these guys to death, so they're not just ones that you know, I've used before once or twice and I think they're okay and wanted to tell you. These are ones I actively use quite a lot. I know it might seem like I have a lot of foundations. I get a lot to try out for you guys. I have a lot for my kit, and I also like have no choice but to wear foundation most days of the week because of whether I'm filming or working or out on a job or whatever. So I highly recommend everything that I just showed you, and like I said, I am combination to slightly oily skin. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks a million for watching, and I'll chat to you soon. So long, guys.